Happy Friday. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, getting ready for a big weekend of golf, folks. We got the very latest from the Masters. We'll give you live leaderboards throughout the show. What an exciting first day it was. Is it possible we could get back-to-back champs? I don't know, but man, Rory McIlroy off to a great start. I will update this for you throughout the show. It's very rare we're here live on NewsWire having live action going on, of course, because we're on the air in the early afternoon on the East Coast, and on the West Coast it's in the morning. So Rory is leading the Masters, and we'll have more on this as we go. But naturally, our coverage continues all weekend long. It is the biggest golf tournament in the world, and it is this weekend. You know, we got you covered here on NewsWire throughout the day and night. All right, guests here on the show today, talk some hoops with Carlin Gay. Finally finishing off this slog of the NBA season. My God, what's going on here the last few days? Teams like absolutely don't care. Gotta find a way to fix this, but I digress. Carlin Gay, NBA, coming up in just a little bit. Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report, and then we'll have Rob Donaldson on the show. He returns to our program this season, talking some sports betting from a baseball perspective. New series starting up all across the country this weekend. But before we get to that, let's get to our big story of the day involving sports, news, and business, and it involves the National Football League. The Justice Department has opened up an investigation into the NFL, which accuses the league of engaging in anti-competitive tactics that have harmed consumers. Mike Lee, he's a senator, wrote in a letter to the DOJ and Federal Trade Commission that fans would have to spend almost $1,000 to watch every game last season through cable and streaming. This was, of course, over the air for as long as we can remember, but with streaming over the last 5 to 10 years and games appearing on Peacock and Prime and everywhere else, it costs a lot of money, not to mention the NFL's Red Zone channel has gone up hundreds and hundreds of dollars to the point where I got out and stopped paying for the Red Zone. So we'll see if anything happens with this, but it does seem to me that the NFL will just look at this and move on, pay some money and move on. All right, as I mentioned, the Masters underway. How about Rory McIlroy? He leads the field right now, 5 under par. Hasn't teed off yet today. Sam Burns was the big story yesterday as well. He's also 5 under par. So that's where we stand. Kurt Kitayama, 3 under. Jason Day, 3 under as well. Patrick Reed is also among the leaders. And as far as today is concerned, really none of the leaders have teed off except Wyndham Clark is now 2 under par, so we'll add him to the leaderboard. He's through 14. He teed off in the morning. He is having one of the best days, at least this morning, on the course. So we'll have an update coming for you in about 30 minutes from now on the Masters, which of course you can stream on their app, or just simply put, stick with us. We'll give you everything that's going on throughout the day. Meanwhile, a round 1 performance for Rory Mac, trying to win back-to-back Masters and having the lead. And here is his discussion yesterday with reporters after the day was done.
Yeah, I think the first 7 holes were really important. The fact that I played those 7 in even par, I felt like that was a pretty good result from some of the places I found myself. And then I started to string some good swings together for the last 11 holes. But I relied on my experience, my short game, to keep me in the round, and then just trusted that at some point I'm going to hit some good shots and give myself some birdie chances, which I did. And I took advantage of those.
All right, so Rory McIlroy back at it on the course coming up in about an hour from now. Meanwhile, Joel Embiid's status for the rest of the regular season and even maybe the postseason in doubt. He had surgery for appendicitis. Not sure when he would clear, but it does appear as though the Philadelphia 76ers could be without him for whatever playoff games they end up playing starting next weekend. Meanwhile, the Knicks beat the Celtics 112-106. It appears as though Jason Tatum's return was not successful to Madison Square Garden. He had 24 points last night. Jalen Brunson had 25. The Knicks now only trail the Celtics by 2 games for the number 2 seed in the East. There are 2 games to go, and it would seem like the Knicks have a shot at this. Here's Mike Brown on the direction the team is headed.
We're heading in the direction of being where we need to be. I like the climb that we've made the last week or so. The last 3 to 4 games, and we got a couple more games to get there. And for us, we'll take it one game at a time. But we got these 2 left. We'd like to win both of them. What does that mean? I don't know. We'll see at the end of the day. But when we lace them up, we're playing to win.
Relief now that this game is under your belt.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it was a big moment, big hurdle for me. I was nervous and anxious to come back here. Obviously I wanted to win and play great, but more importantly, I just kind of wanted to walk off the court, on my own 2 feet.
Did you feel nerves once you stepped on the floor or once the game started?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, especially like to start the game.
Spot where Tatum got hurt a year ago, now back on the court, seemingly feels fine. How about the hottest team in the West headed toward the NBA playoffs? It's the Houston Rockets. They beat the Sixers 113-102. Kevin Durant had 29 points in the win. As Durant seems to be saying after every game, it is game by game as they head toward the playoffs.
We definitely can be better in a lot of areas. Bad fourth quarter, but Philly played a desperate style of ball there, and we scored when we needed to. So yeah, I like the stretch that we're on. I like the process that we're going through. It feels more sustainable, and we're just executing a little better. So we getting to know each other even more. I know it's the end of the season, but when that continuity is always building, that chemistry is always building. So yeah, I like what we are.
Raptors sweep the season series with the Miami Heat, final 128-114. Toronto wins and covers as 4.5-point favorites. It was Brandon Ingram with one of his biggest games of the season. He had 38 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. But on the flip side, you've got the Miami Heat absolutely slumping toward the end of the season. They're headed for the play-in game and a potential 10 seed in the NBA. Here's Eric Spoelstra on what has gone wrong.
That's sobering. It's definitely humbling. I don't have the answers right now. We are searching. We went through everything yesterday, had a productive shoot around today, but we were just outclassed again. It was, again in the first half, it was probably just going to be a back and forth game, but it was the special team stuff again. The 19 second chance, the 13 off turnovers versus their pressure, just coughing it up. Every time we coughed it up, it led to a 3 or an easy basket, and then we just could not rebound the basketball. That was 31 relief points, and then they just carried that on. Even though we made a big run, to get it to 9 or whatever it was, they were in control.
Miami season could end as early as next week. LeBron, meanwhile, hoping to get his team out of that play-in area and get some more wins toward the playoffs. 119-103. Los Angeles beats Golden State. Luka, still no word on when he'll be back. And the Bulls played the Wizards last night. The Wizards have giveaways going on at home and road, meaning they're giving away wins. They've now lost 24 out of 25 games, one of the worst seasons in the history of the NBA. 17-63. That is bad. Trey Jones had 31 points for Chicago. In baseball last night, the Padres beat the Rockies 7-3 as home favorites, and they end up winning, even though Brenton Doyle hit a home run for the Rockies in this one yesterday. The Diamondbacks win their series against the Mets. 7-1 the final there. Eduardo Rodriguez off to a great start this season. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. And Gabby Marino had 2 for 2 day for Arizona as well. And how about the A's? This was a shocker yesterday. The A's shut out the Yankees 1-0. Jeffrey Springs took a no-hitter into the 7th inning. Brent Rooker left this game for the A's. Hope he's okay, but it looks like he could possibly be out for a period of time. Twins beat the Tigers. The Tigers have lost 5 games in a row. Wow. Twins win as home dogs. They win all of their games seemingly as dogs, but are having a good start to their year. And the Marlins capped off their 4-game series with the Reds with an 8-1 win yesterday. Owen Casey went 3 for 4 with 3 runs driven in. And my buddy Max Meyer threw 5 innings and gave up 1 earned run. He picks up the win for Miami. All right, we'll come back next. Carlin Gay is in the house. He'll tell us if the Knicks have a little run in them, maybe to move up in the standings in the East before the regular season ends. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always great to catch up with Carlin Gay of Sporting News for the latest in the NBA. Playoffs getting ready to get started. Carlin, got to get through a few games this weekend to determine the seeding. Kind of crazy to see so many seeds still up in the air. Let's get into it. One of which could be the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks. Knicks take the game yesterday, 112 to 106 behind Jalen Brunson's 25 points. Jason Tatum, of course, was injured in New York about a year ago, and that's when he ended up having that surgery, and he is back on the court, seemingly feeling pretty good as well. Do you think that the Knicks have a little late run in them to catch Boston, or are they destined sort of for their seeding?
It'll be hard to catch Boston because Boston does have a couple of games here coming up that they should be able to take care of. Their last two games are against the Orlando Magic, the New Orleans Pelicans, not teams that are exactly trying to win a lot of games, especially the Pelicans. Like, they're completely out of it. The Magic's still trying to sneak into that playoff spot that realistically they're going to be in the play-in. But when you look at this for the Knicks, I wouldn't even worry about too much about whether or not they can catch Boston or not. I think that was a big win for the Knicks to just kind of keep that momentum going against Boston overall. If you remember last year, of course, they beat the Celtics in the playoffs. Yes, I know Jason Tatum went down with that injury, as you mentioned, but they were going to win that series anyway, Craig. Like, that wasn't because of Jason Tatum missing those last couple of games. They were getting thoroughly beaten by the New York Knicks in that series. Come back again this season. The Knicks have now taken 3 out of 4 from Boston. And last night, I know that Jaylen Brown wasn't playing in the game, but he was playing in all those other games. And he was trying in all those other games. And Jason Tatum, again, last night, he was trying to win the game. We haven't seen Boston as a complete unit, or the Knicks haven't seen Boston with this complete unit yet, with the two Jays playing and see what that might come. But I think when they get into the playoffs and the pressure is on, I think the Knicks can go in there feeling very confident that they match up pretty well against the Boston Celtics because they've proven it now over a 2-year stretch.
Yeah, here's the quick take a look at the seedings in the NBA. Detroit, Boston, New York, and Cleveland are all in the playoffs. We know that Toronto and Atlanta are going to be in there as well. And quite frankly, I don't see any negative path for Magic, Philadelphia, even Charlotte. The Heat is the negative here. They've clinched the play-in game. They're going to be in one of those spots. And so the West, we have the Thunder. They've clinched the number 1, the Spurs the 2, and then maybe between the weekend, Denver and LA could swap out. Houston's hot. Minnesota's clinched the playoffs, and then Suns, Clippers, Trailblazers, and Warriors. It does appear kind of that's the deal there. All right, I want to get to tonight's games, Carlin, and move away from the play-in stuff because I'm not a huge fan of it anyway. Pistons against the Hornets. The Hornets have had a great second half of their season. Detroit is playing for very little tonight. That's why the line is tonight what it looks like. So let's just be clear on that. You got to check these lineups before you place your bets. Charlotte -5, total of 225.5. But Detroit has played well without Cade Cunningham. But the question is, who will actually play for Detroit tonight?
Yeah, and I think, all the questions and answers should be with the Charlotte Hornets in this one. If you remember, we had that big brawl back in the middle of the season here in Charlotte. As I live in Charlotte, it was a big fight between Bridges, and you had a couple suspensions in that game. Cade Cunningham ended up taking over that game after everyone got kicked out and the hockey fight happened. And Pistons ended up winning that game. But up until that point, the Hornets were actually controlling it, and they were kind of dealing with the physicality that the Pistons were bringing. I'm going to be interested to see tonight if whoever the Pistons play, they're going to play the same style of basketball. They're just trying to beat you up and see if they can get away with it. Can the Hornets be able to withstand some of that physicality again? Because that's what the playoffs is going to be about. This is a must-win game for the Charlotte Hornets as well. It's their last home game of the year, and it also is a game that they need to win to make sure that they get into that play-in spot where they're not in that double elimination kind of, or they're giving themselves a double elimination chance. Like, I know you don't love the play-in, but when you're talking the Hornets, you're talking to play-in. Let's be real. So they want to get into that 7th, 8th spot to ensure that it's not one loss and they're done. They give themselves 2 cracks at it. So must-win game for the Hornets tonight. Whether or not they cover the spread is anyone's guess, but I do think that they're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at January where they were, which appeared to be on the outside looking in, and now they're on the inside looking out. So they're just going to take anything they can and go with it. Meanwhile, the same could be said for the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. It doesn't appear that they have much interest in this one, as the Hawks are 8-point favorites, total of 233.5. And Carlin, that is the dynamic where we got to just push through these games at the end of the season. It's hard to handicap NBA games at 12:17 Eastern with the last couple games of the year when teams, simply put, have clinched their spots.
Yeah, and this is a big one again for the Hawks, right? Like they win this game, it's a division championship for them. They kind of lock in that 6th seed or at least a top 6 seed, and they get into the playoffs. And who would have said that, a couple months ago when they were on the outside looking in and trying to figure out like what to do with Trae Young, everything around that. They move on from Trae Young, and then all of a sudden they just absolutely take off. And they've been one of the hottest teams here in the back half of the season. And now, with the chance to get into the postseason, they also might see the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round of the playoffs if things kind of shake out the way that it might here, or if they're able to get past the Raptors. So, win the game if you're the Hawks, go all the way out and try to blow this team out so you don't show them too much, because this might be a team that you see in the first round.
All right, a little different here because Toronto's still jockeying for a bit. Knicks, of course, this could be their last meaningful game if they lose or if Boston wins, but they're still going to try tonight. They're 5.5-point favorites. Total of 219.5 in this game. You have any opinion on this one?
And the reason why they're such big favorites, not only because they're at home, because they've dominated the Raptors. The Raptors are 0-4 against the Knicks. In fact, the Raptors are like 0-20 against teams with a winning record. The Raptors need to win this game, one, to clinch a playoff spot so they don't slide into that play-in, and then twofold, to just kind of show that they can beat the New York Knicks at some point this season. Because again, this is another potential first-round matchup. This could be the 3-6 if things stay the same. And the Raptors winning this game will probably lock us into that 3-6, because you kiss the 2 seed goodbye if the Knicks lose this one. So if you're the Toronto Raptors on the road, you have to go out and show like, hey, we're not just a playoff team, but we're a team that maybe could try to push the Knicks in a first-round series. I don't see it happening. I think the Knicks are going to take this one.
Yeah, it does appear like the Knicks are at least getting better against some of these teams they're supposed to be toward the end of the season. Toronto would qualify as one of those, but as Carlin mentioned, it is a big line for New York tonight. All right, let's do this. Carlin's going to stick around with us because we got a few more games to preview, and then we'll get his thoughts on some of the awards coming down the stretch and break everything down for you. Also, stick with us throughout the show because we've got updates from Augusta at the Masters. We'll tell you exactly what is going on in round 2. As of right now, not much has changed today because some of the leaders have not yet teed off, but we will update that for you as we go. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. We'll be back after these messages, so stay with us. For those people who use YouTube, there's a new feature that is powered by AI. And what is this exactly, Simon?
So let's say you're watching Yankees highlights, and you can say, YouTube, when is the next game at Yankee Stadium? You see that information on the screen. How much is the cost? What seats are available? You see that information on the screen. All right, call the Yankee Stadium box office. I want to make a reservation for 2 tickets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Miami today laying 17.5. Miami wins, get a load of this, 152. When you hear 152, I don't care if you're laying 100. You're thinking you're winning that bet, right? They win 152 to 136. They only win by 16. Washington get the backdoor cover.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Scottie Scheffler, the best golfer in the world. How many majors will he win this year? And if he does get 4, Joe, that's currently trading at 3 cents. So a $100 investment actually only pays back $333 at this point, which is kind of insane when you ask him to win all 4. Joe, I told you already, sticking to my guns. $100 investment on no majors. None over the next 4 this year.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Shocking reality, I think, for college basketball. Certainly the purists to see a legendary school struggle to land a current college heavyweight. But this is the new world order. Mike Malone is either going to be the greatest hire in modern college basketball history, or North Carolina is going to be conducting another incredibly expensive coaching search in the next couple of seasons.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Carlin Gay is back with us to put a bow on tonight's NBA slate. And this is difficult for me, Carlin, because the Orlando Magic have been one of the more disappointing second half teams in the NBA. And then I wake up this morning and I see a line of 14.5. And why does my click button automatically go to Chicago, even though I know the Bulls are not good either? The total is 242.5. They've fired basically everybody running the Bulls right now, literally. So we're just waiting for the season to end to see what they do. But how can you possibly back the Magic laying this kind of number against anybody in the NBA? I guess Washington would be the one team maybe I would do it, but I wouldn't do it against Chicago.
Listen, I am with you in terms of the disappointment that I feel towards the Orlando Magic. Like, I really expected the Magic to be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference at the beginning of the year. And I know they've dealt with injuries, but this has been, in my opinion, a shame of a season for this team. Like, they should be far better with the talent that they have on paper than what they are right now. They're going to make the play-in tournament. Everybody knows that exactly. You know, they're kind of fitting in where they should. We'll see what happens when they get to the postseason. Maybe they're scrappy enough in the first round to make it a little bit entertaining. But in a game like tonight, what's interesting to me is what type of Chicago Bulls team comes out. Because I know the Orlando Magic are already kind of looking towards the play-in tournament. They don't have any hope of really getting into the true playoffs without having to go through the play-in tournament. But if the Chicago Bulls, with a couple of games left in the regular season, everyone's sort of on audition because, as you mentioned, everyone's been fired in the front office. They're really kind of putting on a show for not only the coach that they have now, maybe the coach in the future. Who knows what Billy Donovan does? But this is a chance for the Bulls, to kind of just go out there and say, you know, I'm a good player and I should be here, or at least I'm a good player and I should be on another team getting serious minutes. So I'm actually going to pound the Bulls here. I'm going with the Bulls in this one. That's a big spread in the NBA. I know that players kind of take 1 foot off the basketball court and 1 foot onto the beach at this time of the year, but it's not spring break yet for the Bulls. I'm sticking with them here. So what? 15 points. Are you kidding me? No. It can't be. It can't be 15-point blowout for the Chicago Bulls down the stretch. It can't.
Yeah. I am going to watch this one, and we'll see who's right on this one. Not that I'm going to have. I mean, you know way more about the NBA than I do, but this was a stunning line here. Okay, so the Blazers are having one of those, NBA seasons that's sort of anonymous when you look at a team that's 40-40 on the year. That's where Portland is, and so look, we know they're not going to make a deep run in the playoffs, but I mean, they're finishing off the season maybe better than they have in years past. Maybe that's the way for me to look at it. I mean, the Clippers are the more dangerous team in the playoffs. I mean, let's not get it twisted here, but pick 'em kind of game tonight here out west. 226.5 the total.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the Blazers right now because they're a very young team, as you mentioned. You don't really know what to expect on a nightly basis. They're going to finish around 500. They would be celebrating that record if they're able to get above 500 going into the postseason. But without Damian Lillard all season long, obviously he's been out with the injury, and this is a very young team. Denny Avdia has had a great season. He turned into an all-star. Shaedon Sharpe has also had a phenomenal year. They would love to see what these guys can do when the chips are down and it's a one-game scenario and there's the pressure's really on. And this is a precursor to that because they could see these Clippers in the postseason in a play-in tournament. So, at home, that crowd's going to be fired up. It's been a long time since a game has mattered in Portland, and this is one of those games. So it's a tough place to play. I'm going with the Blazers.
Okay, fair enough. All right, final game tonight, hottest team in the West, the Rockets. They're 10.5-point favorites over the Timberwolves, total 221.5. I feel good for Houston that they're sort of taking that next step here at the end of the season, Carlin, because I was very worried that they could be quickly out in the first round of the NBA playoffs. But it seems like Durant has lifted his game a little bit, and maybe Houston stands a shot to go deeper into the playoffs than I thought a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, injuries are going to be the key here in this one. Julius Randle's day-to-day with a hand injury. He's questionable for tonight. If he doesn't play, I think Houston has this game, taking this game easily. If he does end up playing, I think that line's a little closer. I think he does bring enough of a scoring punch to be able to get that within 10 points. So, and you're right. In my opinion, Houston, had Fred VanVleet been here, I think we'd be talking about a team that would be a title contender. We'll have to wait till next year to see that. But really good season, nonetheless, without a true point guard. We'll see what happens in the postseason. But for tonight, if Julius Randle plays, cover the spread with the Timberwolves. If not, Houston should run away with it.
All right, plus 10.5 is the line there. Carlin, thanks so much for making some extra time for us here. I'll call it some overtime here on the show with us. Really appreciate it. Although Carlin's pay is the same, unfortunately, Carlin. Can't help you out there. Thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Don't spend it all in one place. Thank you again. Carl and Gabe from Sporting News here with us. All right, coming up next, Sam McQuillan joins us from Legal Sports Report. Looks like the state of Ohio could be going backwards in the world of sports betting. What exactly does that mean? We'll tell you next here on NewsWire. Don't go away. For those people who use YouTube, there's a new feature that is powered by AI. And what is this exactly, Simon?
So let's say you're watching Yankees highlights, and you can say, YouTube, when is the next game at Yankee Stadium? You see that information on the screen. How much is the cost? What seats are available? You see that information on the screen. All right, call the Yankee Stadium box office. I want to make a reservation for 2 tickets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Miami today laying 17.5. Miami wins, get a load of this, 152. When you hear 152, I don't care if you're laying 100. You're thinking you're winning that bet, right? They win 152 to 136. They only win by 16. Washington get the backdoor cover.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Scotty Scheffler, the best golfer in the world. How many majors will he win this year? And if he does get 4, Joe, that's currently trading at 3 cents. So a $100 investment actually only pays back $333 at this point, which is kind of insane when you ask him to win all 4. Joe, I told you already, sticking to my guns. $100 investment on no majors. None over the next 4 this year.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Shocking reality, I think, for college basketball. Certainly the purists to see a legendary school struggle to land a current college heavyweight. But this is the new world order. Mike Malone is either going to be the greatest hire in modern college basketball history, or North Carolina is going to be conducting another incredibly expensive coaching search in the next couple of seasons.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I may hit it at the end with him. Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. It's time to check in with Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report as we dive into the latest in sports betting. You could read all about his columns and everything that else we discuss here at LegalSportsReport.com. Sam, thanks for coming on the show. Hope you're having a great end to your week, and not a great end to the week in the state of Ohio. I think a lot of folks are wondering, were we trying to put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak? They got sports betting legal in Ohio, and now all of a sudden, it feels like with everything that happened with the Cleveland Guardians, by the way, is leading to this, but the state of Ohio may want to stop having online sports betting after having it legalized after all this time. What's going on here?
Yeah, Craig, you had just this week 3 Republican lawmakers in Ohio unveiled what they're calling the Save Ohio Sports Act. They had a press conference, which had a lot of fanfare and really has been talked a lot about in the industry, popping up in headlines. Not only do they want to get rid of online sports betting and limit it to casinos, they want to get rid of all player props, all live betting, all parlays, college betting, and then limit bettors to $100 per day and 8 bets within 24 hours. So obviously very unfavorable terms for the industry here. It comes, you mentioned the Cleveland Guardians case with the alleged, manipulating pitches to profit from micro bets. We saw the MLB come out with reform there and changing the kind of bets you can place on legal sports books. But the lawmakers have been pretty vocal about, the benefits of the industry in terms of taxes, not outweighing what they're calling, a mental health risk, an impact on problem gambling in the state of Ohio. They've talked about calls to the Ohio gambling hotline doubling, or more than doubling rather, since Ohio legalized sports betting back in 2023. Governor Mike DeWine has called it his biggest regret as governor. He's doubled the tax rate on sports betting. He's tried to double it again. But this really comes as, the sports betting industry itself faces, like you mentioned, this potential blowback, potential putting the genie back in the bottle with sports betting. Now, I don't think this measure really has any chance of passing. I think that's kind of the important thing to talk about here. But the fact that we are seeing now multiple states propose, not just prop bet bans, but getting rid of online sports betting altogether really shows kind of the pushback that the industry is facing right now, and kind of the crisis it has to make sure in the public spotlight that it's being viewed accurately, and that it's working with lawmakers on, common sense proposals, like we've seen in a bunch of other states. I'll note as well, we talked about earlier this week, Louisiana having a similar prop bet ban proposal, getting rid of it once they realized how much money they were going to lose in the state, but more so how much it was just going to kind of move all of the potentially problematic bets that they're talking about here offshore or to prediction markets and places where the states really can't interact. So again, I don't really think this will go anywhere in the state, but it is notable considering, like you mentioned, it's a state where the Cleveland Guardians case happened. Yeah. And it's also, the governor has been very vocal about regretting legalizing sports betting. Plus, Ohio is a really big state. So it's not great to see this kind of thing pop up. We'll see how that matriculates into headlines or laws down the road. Definitely not in Ohio right now.
All right. We lost Sam there for a second. Looks like we got him back. So let's focus on our next topic here, which is Polymarket and some of the prediction markets like Kalshi as well, who have offered different war bets, meaning you can place predictions on the outcomes of war and even the fate of U.S. service members. I got to tell you, Sam, I was stunned to see that this was even offered by some of the prediction markets. So I'm hoping they do put an end to this one. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that, Craig. I think that's kind of what everyone, especially in Congress, is saying right now with these offshore prediction markets specifically. I think it's important to note that Kalshi is a CFTC registered exchange, despite people contending what it's doing being legal or sport subject to state control. It is something that is really only offered for prediction markets in Polymarket.
All right, Sam. Sam, we love you, man, but the internet today is not your friend, unfortunately. And Sam will be back with us on Monday's edition of the show, but we appreciate his participation, of course. Basically, what Sam was getting into was the idea that right now these prediction markets are offering things tied and related to war and death, and they sort of feel like, at least the CFTC may feel, and some lawmakers feel, that it could be time to put these to bed and maybe focus on some other things like sports and entertainment and movies and and gas prices and things of that nature. So that does make a ton of sense there. All right. So thanks again to Sam for coming on the show. We'll see him again Monday. I'm sure things will go a little smoother there. Okay. It's going smooth right now at Augusta for Rory McIlroy as he awaits to tee off here in the second round of the Masters. Let me give you the live leaderboard there. For those of you who are watching online or streaming us, I'm going to read off some stuff here to you. So let's see here. Second round leaderboard is currently Sam Burns and Rory McIlroy at the top. And the big mover today on the course has been Wyndham Clark. He is through 17 right now, and he is 4 under par. So that's the latest update from Augusta. Wyndham Clark has moved into second place, right now a tie for first with Burns and McIlroy. But Clark is going to go and make the cut and go into the weekend as one of the favorites to win the 2026 Masters. A absolutely huge day for him. Kurt Kitayama, right now, he is 3 under. He's currently on the course, so he is underway. Jason Day, Patty Reed, and Shane Lowry are also 2 under par. So is Xander Schauffele. Other players who have teed off and are having good days would be Tyrrell Hatton. He's currently 2 under par through 10, so he'll make the cut and move on. Chris Gotterup also 2 under par, and he will move on as well. And then we'll have another leaderboard coming for you a little bit later in the show as we close NewsWire out here on this Friday. Meanwhile, in Major League Baseball yesterday, it was the blast heard in Denver as a big day for not Xander Schauffele, but Xander Bogaerts. He has a grand slam to win the game yesterday for the Padres. Here he was after the game with arguably one of his biggest hits as a Padre.
They walk Merrill, they walk Manny to get to you. What's going through your mind as you're walking to the plate?
You know what's funny is I kind of figured they might have done that. You know, once they walked Merrill, I'm like, they're not going to let Manny beat him. You know, I think it was my first hit with runners in scoring position, so they probably know that statistic. You know, so man, it was a nice swing. I mean, I don't know how many times I've hit that ball like that, so that was a good one.
Walk-off grand slam. What are your emotions as you're rounding the bases?
I mean, happiness. You know, you came through for your team. That great at bat by Campy, I think was huge. You know, with the 2 outs, I don't think he had an at bat that whole game. You know, so first pitch double down the line. I mean, it was good. You know, the bullpen, the pitching, they did great, but I think tonight is a special one for Campy also.
It was a low-scoring game. It was a back-and-forth game in extra innings. You trailed in the 10th. You trailed in the 11th. How was this offense able to stay in the fight and keep on extending the game?
Hey, they're playing good. You know, they have good arms. I mean, the kid that came in, pitched after the opener, he got a pretty good arm. The bullpen got a good arm. They're playing good baseball. You know, and nice way to start off the homestand. Looking forward to tomorrow. You know, big day for us with the new units and stuff. So let's see how that goes.
Yankees could have used a grand slam yesterday. They didn't score a run. Here's Aaron Boone on the team not scoring the last couple games.
When you look at the last 17 innings for this offense, just 2 hits over that span, 20 strikeouts. Obviously, there's some pitching thrown in there, but just what do you think is happening with this offense, and were you okay with the approach this afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, look, we got shut down today. You know, the previous games where we've struggled scoring, I feel like we're getting the traffic. We're having quality at bats. Today was the day we got beat. You know, we didn't generate much. We didn't hit a lot of balls on the screws at all, and didn't create much traffic. So, you know, we'll get this thing going. We got a few guys obviously struggling to get on track a little bit, and hopefully get things going down inside.
For those people who use YouTube, there's a new feature that is powered by AI. And what is this exactly, Simon?
So let's say you're watching Yankees highlights, and you can say, YouTube, when is the next game at Yankee Stadium? You see that information on the screen. How much is the cost? What seats are available? You see that information on the screen. All right, call the Yankee Stadium box office. I want to make a reservation for 2 tickets.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Miami today laying 17.5. Miami wins, get a load of this, 152. When you hear 152, I don't care if you're laying 100. You're thinking you're winning that bet, right? They win 152 to 136. They only win by 16. Washington get the backdoor cover.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Scotty Scheffler, the best golfer in the world. How many majors will he win this year? And if he does get 4, Joe, that's currently trading at 3 cents. So a $100 investment actually only pays back $333 at this point, which is kind of insane when you ask him to win all 4. Joe, I told you already, sticking to my guns. $100 investment on no majors. None over the next 4 this year.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Shocking reality, I think, for college basketball. Certainly the purists to see a legendary school struggle to land a current college heavyweight. But this is the new world order. Mike Malone is either going to be the greatest hire in modern college basketball history, or North Carolina is going to be conducting another incredibly expensive coaching search in the next couple of seasons.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's take a check-in on today's daily slate in Major League Baseball. Nobody better than to check in than with Rob Donaldson, who's going to join us now. He's got his eye on some of the games, which includes an afternoon game at Wrigley Field. Rob, great to have you here back on NewsWire. Really appreciate it, and certainly the friendly confines, always fun when it's like that solo game going on. That appears to be the case today. Cubs take on the Pirates. Hey, Pirates playing good ball here. Carmen Mlodzinski, not their top starter today. And of course, naturally, you never know what you're going to get. The 5, the 1. I think Mlodzinski more or less the 5 on their team. Shota Imanaga. And I'm going to guess the wind is blowing in at Wrigley. That's always the question because I'm seeing a total here of 6.5. Now, this could change in a second. You know that. Cubs minus 145 today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you're talking about a day game at Wrigley, it's always going to be a weather kind of related event because either it's blowing out or it's blowing in, and the total is going to reflect that immediately. You're just going to know without even having to check AccuWeather, right? But at the same
Right.
time, you look at the Pittsburgh Pirates right now, and they're rolling. I think they're a really good team, but you kind of mentioned it. Carmen Mlodzinski is not one of their top end guys, and when you do look at just the under the hood numbers for his first 2 starts, you see a lot of hard hit balls that he's not really paying for, and kind of vice versa on the Chicago, lineup side of things. You're seeing a lot of guys hitting a lot of hard balls who aren't necessarily getting rewarded for it in the early goings. And so I think there's a positive regression angle when you're talking about the Cubs lineup. I think there's a negative regression angle when you're talking about Carmen Mlodzinski. And for that reason, I'm targeting that first 5, and I'm going to be willing to lay the half run with the Cubbies here.
Yeah, Cubs, should get this win today, you would think. But I think right now the question is, can the Pirates continue to play how they're playing? And there's still some skepticism, I guess, on that. All right, let's go to Philadelphia, where the Diamondbacks will take on the Phillies tonight. The Phillies are huge favorites because Jesus Luzardo is pitching. He's minus 180, total of 8.5. Diamondbacks are just trying to press through here a little bit and kind of find themselves, I think, in this early part of the season. Should Luzardo be this big of a favorite tonight, Rob, over Arizona?
I think if you're looking at it on just the kind of the backs of Jesus Luzardo, I don't necessarily think he's kind of the one justifying this price point. That said, when you do look at Michael Soroka, kind of like what we were just talking about with Carmen Mlodzinski, the under the hood numbers in terms of hard hit percentage right now are not in line with what could be a good track here for our boy here in Michael Soroka. And for that reason, I really like the Phillies offense to really kind of spark themselves in this game very early on. I know we just laid that half run through the first 5 innings, but I'm going to be willing to do it again here because I think Michael Soroka, when you look at a 0.9 ERA, that's just not truly representative of what's going on. Sure, he can go out there and toss some Ks, but I think today he's going to land a lot of balls in seats in the outfield here, and I think the Phillies are going to be the main beneficiary.
All right, fair enough. Now, I did see the Reds for 4 games in person. They look like a really good team to me, Rob, but they're just having a hard time scoring runs consistently. So I look at this total of 9 and wonder where this is honestly coming from. Chase Burns has been fantastic. Look, this is a game that the Angels basically have to throw their 5 out, and it's Coach Anowitz who's pitching today for the Angels. So I don't have a ton of confidence there, but I also am not sure that the Reds are going to score a lot yet. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, and this is kind of where it wouldn't be the most conviction that I have on the board for sure, but I look at Kohanowitz and I just also look at the pitching matchup with Chase Burns. To me, Chase Burns is electric, but electric for real, right? He's not just a guy who is going to hit the zone, work efficiently, or get tagged up if he's not right that given day. I think he has the ability to pitch to contact. I also think he has the ability to go out there and toss 11 Ks. And so through the first 5 frames, that's kind of where my head goes. I'm looking at, team total unders for the Angels. I'm also looking at ways to kind of back the Reds when he's starting through those first 5 frames and 3 in a row. But I'm going to be yeah, absolutely. And through those first 5 frames, I'm going to be willing to lay that half run, I think, with Chase Burns and the Reds here.
Yeah, Burns has been absolutely fantastic. I didn't see him pitch though this week. Twins have been a little bit of a surprise, winning some games here. Simeon Woods Richardson goes up against Patrick Corbin, who's filling in on the Blue Jays until they get some of their starters back. What a disaster to start the season for Toronto, Rob. We know they'll get it going eventually, but how about today against Minnesota?
Yeah, and I think when you look at the Blue Jays lineup right now, it's just kind of an unfortunate shape, right? Where they do have some big names still in the lineup. George Springer, Vladdy are still in there, but ultimately this is kind of a banged up lineup that's producing like a really banged up lineup. And although, Patrick Corbin's the starter in this game for the Blue Jays, a lot of people, when they see that name Corbin taking the bump or P. Corbin on the bump, they're wanting to take the other side or take the over. I actually think that when you look at the past 2 years, Patrick Corbin's been tossing more quality games than not. Like, yes, he is still going to give up those blow up outings where he only goes 3 innings, gives up 7 earned runs, but the majority of his outings are him going 5 or 6, deep and only giving up 3 or 4 earned runs. Yeah, again, not a top end guy that you want to rely on come playoff time, for example, but in these kind of one game vacuums when you're seeing a total of 9, I think he actually gives us some validity to the under here, especially when you're pairing it with the Blue Jays and Twins lineup. So I'm looking at the under 9, and I'm really liking that bet.
All right, so let's take a look at all of Rob's plays today here, and then we'll cap it off with one more game before we go because I want to make sure we get those in. He's got Twins, Blue Jays under, as he just mentioned, under 9. Nationals, Brewers over 4.5, first 5. Reds, Phillies, and Cubs, first 5 as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's the entire slate, and we got all games in action today, or all teams rather, and it's just a really fun day to be a baseball fan. It starts with the Cubs here soon.
All right, last one, Rob, real quick, 30 seconds here. I know not a strong one for you on Imai pitching for the Astros today against Emerson Hancock, who certainly is happy with his bank account. 7.5 is the total. Seattle minus 136.
Yeah, these are two teams that are riding some serious losing streaks and are kind of in the doldrums. It's a team that's got to win here on both sides of the coin. I think Emerson Hancock gets the Seattle Mariners the kind of the right side of that winning wager, and so I would take the money line with the Mariners. Just don't have a lot of conviction there.
Fair enough. Great stuff, Rob. As always, we got your card in for the day. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Enjoy the rest of the day here.
All right, come back. We'll wrap things up. Live leaderboard on the Masters, and then we will say so long for the week here on NewsWire. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Masters update here. The big winner from round 2 is Wyndham Clark right now. Clark finishes his day at 4 under par, so he's near the top of the leaderboard right now. Rory McIlroy and Sam Burns finished yesterday 5 under par. Clark is now 4 under par, and he's in the clubhouse. So expect a fun weekend for him. For those of you who bet on Clark, you're going to feel pretty good going into Saturday and Sunday. Also, the only other player on the top of the leaderboard that is underway and has teed off is Kurt Kitayama. He's 3 under par, so he's even for the day, and he's through 2 holes. The rest of the leaderboard is Jason Day at 3 under, Patty Reed at 3 under, and Shane Lowry at 2 under as well. So that's the current leaderboard. And by the way, Sam Burns, who is tied for Rory McIlroy, has just finished his first hole of this second day, and he parred the hole. So he is even and still 5 under par. If you want live updates, just tune into Game Time Decisions coming up later with Kevin Walsh. He's got the very latest from the Masters. All right, as we wrap up the show, a new trading card comes out, and it's got a retro feel. Also, the new City Connect jerseys have dropped as well. And let's wrap things up here on this Friday with some last licks. All right, this one certainly speaks to me because, well, I'm a kid of the 80s. And in the 80s, Nintendo released a game called Tecmo Bowl, which is what I just could not stop playing over and over and over again. And then Super Tecmo Bowl also. And Topps is really dialing into the retro feel in this one. Topps has created Tecmo games, and the NFL has partnered up to create official Tecmo Bowl trading cards. How about that? Find them in packs of Topps Chrome football on April the 15th. I believe that is Jackson Dart that you see right there. Man, this is like, I'm like, they got me on this one. Now, I haven't ordered it, but I'm sort of thinking like this is something that I want to have. Now, I don't know if they're going to be worth anything or they're signed. I believe the cards are signed in white, if I'm not mistaken, but that is a really cool looking shot there. I was all about Tecmo Bowl when I was a kid, when the first Nintendo came out, and Super Tecmo Bowl as well, playing that in college. And even playing that at home as well. The games have gotten out of hand now for me. Like, I can't play online or anything versus anybody. I get absolutely destroyed because I'm much older than everybody playing too. And I don't have time for it, by the way. Oh, maybe a little. All right, City Connect jerseys have been released for the season. 8 teams get City Connect jerseys, new style this year. And there they are. So the 8 new teams, or the 8 new jerseys that have been released: the Braves, the Orioles, the Reds, the Royals, the Brewers, the Pirates, Padres, and Rangers. I mean, I am definitely more of a traditionalist, but I do appreciate a new good-looking jersey. I think that those powder blue Royals, to me, look like the very best one because they kept them in style. And then the worst for me may be the Padres. I mean, I'm not a short sleeve or kind of guy, and it does seem to me that that's the direction that they're going, at least from the video that I see right there. So, listen, these are only Friday night. Really shouldn't get too crazy with these. But you got to sell merchandise. And when it's about selling merchandise, it's about releasing new jerseys. So that does make a lot of sense there. Okay, we saw the shots of the day yesterday at the Masters. How about the most peculiar shot of the day at the Masters? Did you catch this yesterday? Xander Schauffele hit a tee shot, and he struck very well. And sometimes when the ball goes out of bounds, what happens is the judges and the officials get over and they, move things around so you can play the ball. I don't know how you play the ball here, and obviously Xander could not. Xander's ball landed in a bag, a merch bag from somebody at the Masters. I guess they went and bought some merchandise. And listen, what's funny about this for me is that the Masters, they won't allow you to bring your phone. They won't allow you to wear certain things into the Masters. I don't know if you know this before. You can't wear any logos or anything else, but they will allow you to buy your own stuff there. And they allow bags on the course, and a ball landed in the bag of somebody who was there. How about that? And Xander, they had to take the ball out, and he ended up having to play that thing. But a very funny moment there. It just shows you, I think we're not going to see bags ever again at the Masters starting next year. That would be a guess of mine. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks to our great guests, including Rob Donaldson, breaking down some Major League Baseball with us. Great job by him. Also, Carlin Gay of Sporting News and Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report. Those were our guests today. And by the way, we got a great show coming up on Sunday morning. Make sure you catch Pro Baseball Today with me and Donnie Rightside. We have you covered on the week that was in Major League Baseball and a little bit of a preview of the week ahead as well. Thanks to everybody for watching the show all week long. Thanks again to Adam Kaufman for filling in for me yesterday. Thanks to Tommy. Thanks to Frank. And thanks to Chris, our producer, for a great week of shows. So I'll see you back Sunday for Pro Baseball Today or Monday for our next edition of NewsWire. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you then.